My wife went to aid the development in the West, but I ran into her at the local OB-GYN, arm in arm with a male university student I sponsor for a prenatal checkup. He whined, "Sis, when are you going to buy me the watch?" The blood in my body froze. Later, I calmly canceled all her cards and reported him to the university by name. The day his student status was revoked and debt collectors cornered him, he frantically messaged me, "Brother Chun, I was wrong. Please let your wife and child come back." I laughed. "Sorry, that's your wife and child. As for my money, I'm about to donate it to the West to build a Hope Primary School." The smell of disinfectant in the hospital was thick enough to cure bacon. Chun Yuan leaned against the wall, standing on one leg like a golden rooster, feeling that his ankle had possibly, maybe swollen into a puffy steam bun. His friend Lu Hao was supporting him, still chattering away. "I told you that you shouldn't have stopped those yoga classes. Look at you, all old and creaky. You can sprain your ankle just going down the stairs." "Shut up." Chun Yuan squeezed the two words through his teeth. The pain in his foot was real, but what made him want to curse even more was that just 3 months after his 30th birthday, he had performed a free-fall descent on his own staircase, successfully landing himself in the hospital. "Orthopedics is on the 4th floor. What's your hurry?" Lu Hao continued to ramble. "Your wife isn't home anyway. No one would even know if you fell." Before he could finish, Chun Yuan stopped abruptly. It wasn't the pain that stopped him. It was his eyes seeing something they shouldn't have. On a blue plastic chair in the obstetrics and gynecology waiting area sat a familiar figure. Ruan Huixian, his wife, who was theoretically a volunteer doctor dedicating her youth to saving lives in some impoverished county in the West. She was wearing a cream-colored knit dress, her hair loosely tied up, one hand resting gently on her lower abdomen. Chun Yuan was familiar with this posture. In their 5 years of marriage, she always held herself this way whenever she had a stomachache or period cramps. But in the next second, he was no longer familiar with the scene. A tall, slender young man walked out of a consultation room, sat down naturally beside Ruan Huixian, and wrapped his arm around her shoulders. Ruan Huixian didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned into his embrace. Chun Yuan felt the pain from his ankle suddenly shift, shooting straight to his head. "Yuan, look, is that?" Lu Hao had seen it too, his voice catching in his throat. Chun Yuan didn't speak, his gaze locked tightly on the young man's face. That face was even more familiar. Lin Xian, the underprivileged university student he had been sponsoring for 4 years. In photos, he was always wearing a faded school uniform, his eyes clear, his thank you letter sincere and heartfelt. "Uncle Chun, without your help, I could never have left the mountains. I will study hard and give back to society in the future." Now, this star of hope from the mountains was wearing the latest trendy sweatshirt, limited edition sneakers on his feet, and holding Chun Yuan's legal wife in his arms at the entrance of the OB-GYN, putting on a tender display. "Sis," Lin Xian's voice wasn't loud, but it was exceptionally clear in the quiet hallway. "I just saw a pregnant woman inside wearing a watch from that brand you said you liked last time." Ruan Huixian tapped him lightly and whispered something, her expression playfully coy. A buzz went off in Chun Yuan's head. Fragments of memory uncontrollably surfaced. 3 months ago, at the airport, Ruan Huixian dragged her suitcase, her eyes slightly red but her gaze firm. "Honey, it's just 1 year. This is my dream. I want to do something for those places with scarce medical resources." He held her tightly, feeling both proud and pained. "Take care of yourself. I'll wait for you to come back." A week ago, late at night, a message from Lin Xian. "Uncle Chun, the school needs a special training fee, 8,000 yuan. I know I shouldn't bother you again, but I really want to seize this opportunity." He transferred the money with a note. "Keep it up. The future is bright." 3 days ago, he sent a message to Lin Xian asking about the training, only to find he had been blocked. He had wondered at the time, what's up with this kid? He wasn't wondering anymore. The sharp pain in his ankle turned into a suffocating tightness in his chest, as if his heart was being squeezed. Chun Yuan felt the entire hallway start to spin. Noticing something was wrong, Lu Hao held him up firmly. "Yuan, you look so pale. Let's go get your foot checked first." But it was too late. Ruan Huixian looked up, her gaze cutting across the hallway and crashing into his. The moment their eyes met, time seemed to hit pause. The color drained from Ruan Huaxian's face. She instinctively shielded her lower abdomen with her hands and shrank back half a step. That movement, that expression, that protective gesture, a series of questions exploded in Chun Yuan's mind, scrolling past like a barrage of comments on a screen. How did they meet? Whose child is it? Was the volunteer work in the West a lie? Sis, what's wrong? Lin Xian followed her gaze. And then, he froze too. The good little brother expression cracked in an instant. The smugness and coquettishness froze on his face, slowly turning to panic, and finally settling into an awkward, forced smile of concealment. Ah, Kushin. Lin Xian stood up, his hand still on Ruan Huaxian's shoulder, but it was no longer as natural as before. Chen Yuan didn't move. He stood on one foot, supported by Lu Hao, feeling like a clown in a vaudeville show. His ankle throbbed, his chest felt tight, but the most ridiculous part was that he could still think. First, he had to stand steady, not fall. Second, what should he say right now? Huixian. Chen Yuan heard his own voice, eerily calm, as if discussing what to eat for dinner. The winds in the west are strong. How they blow you all the way to the obstetrics and gynecology department. Ruan Huaxian's lips trembled. She pushed Lin Xian's hand away and stood up, her movements a bit clumsy. Chen Yuan noticed that her abdomen, under the beige knit dress, did indeed have a slight curve. Honey, how are you here? Her voice quavered, her eyes not daring to meet his. What happened to your foot? Fell down the stairs. Chen Yuan was concise, his gaze shifting to Lin Xian. And this is my colleague's cousin. Ruan Huixian answered hurriedly, her speech abnormally fast. My colleague has a prenatal checkup today, and I came with her. This is her cousin, who also happened to come see her. Lin Xian nodded quickly, smiling with an air of pure innocence. Yes, hello, Uncle Chun. I am Xiao Xian. Sister Huixian often mentions you. Chen Yuan looked at him. He looked at this kid from the mountains whom he had sponsored for 4 years, at the limited edition sneakers on his feet worth no less than 5,000, and at the barely visible matching couple's bracelet on his wrist, the same as Ruan Huaxian's. Monsieur Mu. Chen Yuan smiled. What does she mention? That I send you living expenses on time, every month? But a laptop I bought you last year. The smile froze on Lin Xian's face. Ruan Huixian rushed over and grabbed Chen Yuan's arm. Honey, listen to me. It's not what you think. What do I think it is? Chen Yuan looked down at her, finally getting a clear view of her ring finger. The wedding ring was gone. In its place was a small diamond ring, not the one he had bought. Where's your ring? He asked. Ruan Huixian abruptly pulled her hand back, covering her fingers, her expression flustered. Lu Hao couldn't watch anymore and gave Chen Yuan a tug. Brother Yuan, let's get your foot looked at first. It's swelling up even more. Right, your foot first. Ruan Huixian clung to this as if it were a lifeline. I'll go with you to orthopedics. No need. Chen Yuan pulled his arm away. The movement was gentle but firm. You should accompany your colleague's cousin. Don't want to hold up his prenatal checkup. He deliberately emphasized the words prenatal checkup. Ruan Huaxian's face turned white as a sheet. Lin Xian stood behind her, his eyes darting between Chen Yuan and Ruan Huixian. His lips moved, but in the end he said nothing. Supported by Lu Hao, Chen Yuan turned and headed towards the orthopedics department. 1 step, 2 steps. The pain in his ankle made him want to curse, but he walked with perfect stability. Brother Yuan, Lu Hao whispered, is that kid the one you sponsored? Yeah. Then he and sister-in-law. I don't know, but they were in the OB-GYN department, and sister-in-law was cradling her stomach. I saw. Chen Yuan's voice was as calm as if he were discussing the weather. When he reached the corner, he couldn't resist looking back one last time. Ruan Huixian was still standing in the same spot, her hand over her lower abdomen, watching his retreating back as tears streamed down her face. Lin Xian was beside her, leaning in and whispering something in her ear with an urgent expression. Then, Chen Yuan saw Lin Xian's hand rest naturally on Ruan Huaxian's waist. The gesture was glaringly intimate. Let's go, Chen Yuan said to Lu Hao, turning his head back. In the orthopedic clinic, the doctor pressed on his ankle, which had swollen up like a bun. Sprained ligament. It needs to be immobilized. Don't walk on it for a while. I'll prescribe you a crutch. Chen Yuan nodded, as if listening to the doctor's orders, and as if he hadn't heard a thing. That just now, Lu Hao couldn't hold it in any longer. Was that really sister-in-law? Her name's on the marriage certificate. Then the child. I don't know. What are you going to do? Chen Yuan watched the doctor wrap a support bandage around his ankle, layer after layer, winding it tightly. First, I'll find out the truth, he said. His voice was steady, and his hands didn't tremble. But Lu Hao saw that Chen Yuan's other hand was clenched into a fist, his nails digging so deeply into his palm that they drew blood. Leaving the hospital, Chen Yuan hopped into Lu Hao's car on one foot, leaning on his newly acquired crutch. His phone rang. It was Ruan Huixian. He stared at the screen for 3 seconds, then silenced it without answering. A moment later, a WeChat message popped up. Honey, please let me explain. I really was just with a colleague. Lin Xian was just there by coincidence. I took off my ring to wash my hands yesterday and forgot to put it back on. It's not what you think. Chen Yuan looked at the line of text and suddenly laughed. A laugh that made Lu Hao's blood run cold. Brother Yuan, are you... Okay, I'm Fina. Chen Yuan put away his phone and looked out the window. I just suddenly feel like an idiot. The car started and merged into the flow of traffic. Chen Yuan closed his eyes, his mind replaying scenes like a movie. Before Ruan Huixian left, she had hugged him and said, just 1 year. The photos she sent from the West, the Gobi, the desert, the crude health clinic. During video calls, the background behind her was always a wall with a map on it. She said the signal was bad and always hung up quickly. She said she was busy, tired, but fulfilled. She said, honey, when I get back, let's have a baby. At the time, Chen Yuan had even said, okay, when you get back, we will. Thinking about it now, how fucking ironic. His phone vibrated again. This time it was from Lin Xian. Uncle Chen, today was truly a misunderstanding. Sister Huixian is a good person. Please don't overthink it. Thank you for all your help. I will never forget your kindness. Chen Yuan stared at the message for a full minute. Then, he took a screenshot and saved it. Next, he opened his contacts and found a number he hadn't contacted in a long time. Lin Xian school counselor. The call connected. Teacher Li, hello. This is Lin Xian sponsor, Chen Yuan. There's something I'd like to ask about regarding student Lin Xian's recent performance and spending habits at school. Outside the car window, the city lights began to glow. Chen Yuan's voice was steady, polite, and calm. Only the hand gripping the crutch had knuckles turning white. Lu Hao glanced at him in the rearview mirror and sighed. The car stopped downstairs from Chen Yuan's apartment. Do you want me to go up with you? Lu Hao asked. No need. Chen Yuan got out of the car, leaning on his crutch. I can handle this myself. Brother Yuan, Lu Hao rolled down the window. If you need anything, give me a call. I'm here for you anytime. Chen Yuan nodded, hopping on one foot towards the building. With every step, his ankle throbbed with pain. But it was nothing compared to the silent, deafening collapse inside his heart. In the elevator, he looked at his reflection in the mirror. 30 years old, moderately successful in his career, owned a house and a car, had a wife, aiding development in the West, and was sponsoring an outstanding and morally upright impoverished student. What a perfect life. What a ridiculous joke. He opened the door and entered the apartment. On the cabinet in the entryway, there was still a photo of the two of them at the airport before Ruan Huixian left. She was smiling brilliantly, and he had his arm around her shoulder like a happy fool. Chen Yuan picked up the photo frame and looked at it for a long time. Then he put it down and, leaning on his crutch, began to search for clues in the home he had lived in for 5 years. The souvenir from the West, on the living room bookshelf, a handmade pottery jar with a label that read, a gift from the villagers at the aid location. He opened Taobao and used the image search function. An identical item popped up, price 68 yuan, with over 200 sold per month. In the study, Ruan Huixian's aid mission diary. He opened it to find neat handwriting documenting her experiences in the West. He took out his phone and scrolled back to their chat history from 3 months ago. She had said, went to the village for a free clinic today, walked so far my feet are blistered. At the same time, she had posted a selfie to her moments, the background a corner of that trendy, internet-famous coffee shop downtown, the mall's logo reflected in the glass. On the bedroom nightstand, the local specialty from the West she had left, a pack of yak jerky. Production date, 2 months ago. Production address, the Provincial Food Industrial Park. Chen Yuan sat on the edge of the bed, looked at the pack of jerky in his hand, and suddenly laughed out loud. A low, muffled sound, as if forced from the depths of his chest. As he laughed, his eyes turned red. His phone rang again. Ruan Huixian had sent a long WeChat message. Honey, I know you misunderstood today, but I truly haven't done anything to betray you. Lin Xian is just a kid. I see him as a younger brother. The aid mission is tough, and I'm very lonely here by myself. He just keeps me company and chats with me occasionally. The thing with the baby, it was for my colleague. I was just helping her make an appointment. Please believe me. When I get back, we can talk properly, okay? Chen Yuan read it, but didn't reply. He put his phone down and walked to the balcony with his crutch. The night wind blew in a little cold. He lit his cigarette. He had quit for 3 years, but made an exception today. Through the swirling smoke, he remembered their wedding day. Ruan Huixian, in her wedding dress, had said through tears, Chen Yuan, I will be good to you for my whole life. He had believed her then. He really had. The cigarette burned down to the end, scalding his fingers. Chen Yuan let go, watching the butt fall, carving a tiny arc of light in the darkness before being extinguished. Just like some things, once they're burned up, there's nothing left but ash. He went back inside and opened his computer. He logged into his bank account and checked the transaction history of the supplementary card. Page by page, he scrolled down. For the past 3 months, Ruan Huixian's supplementary card had multiple transaction records at local malls, restaurants, and hotels. One of these was at a luxury watch boutique for an amount of 87,000 yuan. The date, 2 weeks ago. Chen Yuan remembered that day. He had called her, and she said, I'm going to visit a nomad's home for rounds today. Signal isn't good. Talk later. He had even said then, be careful. What a considerate husband. Chen Yuan closed the web page and leaned back in his chair, closing his eyes. His mind was a mess, yet empty. The throbbing pain in his ankle came in waves, reminding him that everything that happened today was real, not a dream. It was a reality more absurd than any dream. He didn't know how long passed before he heard the sound of a key turning at the door. Chen Yuan opened his eyes. Ruan Huixian pushed the door open and jumped when she saw him sitting in the dark. Husband, why aren't the lights on? She walked over, carrying a faint scent of perfume, not the one she usually wore. Chen Yuan didn't speak, just watched her. He watched her slightly swollen eyes, her unnatural expression, the hand instinctively covering her lower abdomen, and that faint, pink mark on the side of her neck. A hickey. Fresh. Following his gaze, Ruan Huixian abruptly covered her neck, her face instantly turning ashen. Husband, this is an allergy. I ate seafood today. We've been married for 5 years. Chen Yuan cut her off, his voice terrifyingly calm. You're not allergic to seafood. Ruan Huixian froze in place. Chen Yuan leaned on his crutch, slowly stood up, and hopped on one leg to the coffee table. He took a document from the drawer and placed it on the table. Sign it, he said. Ruan Huixian looked down and saw the document's title, Divorce Agreement. She abruptly looked up, tears streaming down her face. No. Husband, please let me explain. I really didn't. Chen Yuan didn't let her finish. He unlocked his phone, opened a photo, and turned the screen towards her. The photo was a screenshot from the underground parking lot surveillance of a high-end apartment. Time, 10:23 p.m. last night. In the image, Lin Xian had his arm around Ruan Huixian's waist, and the two walked intimately into the elevator. Ruan Huixian's face, illuminated by the phone screen, went completely bloodless. Explain. Chen Yuan looked at her, enunciating each word. First, explain if the month of this child aligns with your aid mission timetable. Ruan Huixian opened her mouth, but couldn't utter a sound. Large tears rolled down her cheeks. Chen Yuan put away his phone, leaned on his crutch, and turned to walk towards the bedroom. At the doorway, he stopped without turning back. Tonight, you sleep in the guest room. Tomorrow, I'll call the lawyer. The door closed. In the living room, only Ruan Huixian remained, standing in the dark, trembling all over as she stared at the divorce agreement. In the bedroom, Chen Yuan leaned his back against the door, slowly sliding to the floor. His ankle hurt agonizingly, but he didn't make a sound. He just raised a hand and covered his eyes. His palms were damp. He couldn't tell if it was sweat or something else. Outside the window, the city night was still long. The next morning at 7:30, as Chun Yuan hopped out of the bedroom on one leg with his crutch, he smelled fried eggs. Ruan Huixian, wearing an apron, was busy in the kitchen. On the dining table were milk, toast, cut fruit, and his favorite runny yolk egg, perfectly fried, crispy edges, yolk almost runny. "Husband, you're awake." She turned around, her eyes swollen like walnuts, but she forced a smile. "Does your foot still hurt? I made some porridge. Please sit down first." Chun Yuan didn't move. He looked at this familiar breakfast scene as if watching an absurd play. In 5 years of marriage, Ruan Huixian had cooked a handful of times. Her cooking skills were average. The only thing she was good at was frying eggs, because it was the only thing he had ever explicitly praised as delicious. "You don't need to do this." Chun Yuan's voice was calm as if discussing the weather. Ruan Huixian's smile froze on her face. She put down the spatula, her fingers twisting the edge of her apron. "Husband, let's talk, okay? Yesterday was really a misunderstanding, Lin Xian." "What about him?" Chun Yuan interrupted her, slowly shuffled to the dining table with his crutch and sat down, but didn't touch the breakfast. "He's an impoverished college student, wearing limited edition sneakers, a new model watch, and with his arm around my wife, entering and exiting a high-end apartment. This is quite a unique misunderstanding. That's what he bought through part-time work and study." Ruan Huixian hurriedly explained. "He has good grades, received scholarships, and also tutors." "Oh." Chun Yuan nodded, picked up his phone. "Which tutor earns 10,000 an hour? Introduce me, I'll go too." Ruan Huixian was speechless. Chun Yuan opened his mobile banking app and turned the screen towards her. "Your supplementary card, over the past 3 months, has spent 87,000 yuan. 40,000 of that was transferred to the same account. Lin Xian's Alipay." He slid his finger across the screen. "Also, during your volunteer project, that wall with the map in the background of your video calls? I checked. It's the popular photo wall at the Western Vibe themed guest house in the city. $268 a night, breakfast included. You were staying there." Chun Yuan put down his phone and looked at her. "Experiencing the Western lifestyle?" Ruan Huixian's face turned white, then red, then white again. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Tears started to fall again, this time a complete breakdown. "I didn't mean to. Honey, listen to me. It was too hard over there on the project. I really couldn't take it. 3 months, just 3 months, and I came back. But I was afraid you'd be disappointed, afraid you'd think I couldn't handle hardship. So you pretended you were still out west." Chun Yuan laughed, "Sending me pictures of the Gobi Desert every day, telling me how many miles you walked, how many herdsmen you saved. You bought the photos from Taobao, right? 50 cents apiece." "No, they were from colleague." Ruan Huixian's voice grew smaller and smaller. "What a thoughtful colleague," Chun Yuan said. "Even the typos in your volunteer diary were exactly the same as the ones in your university thesis." The air was dead silent. The fried egg sizzled in the pan, gradually burning. Ruan Huixian fumbled to turn off the stove, dropping the spatula with a loud clang. She didn't pick it up, just squatted down, hugged her knees, and sobbed, her shoulders shaking. "I'm sorry. Honey, I'm sorry. I was just too vain. I didn't want you to think I was a quitter. After I came back, I was so lonely at home by myself." "So you met a younger brother on a social app?" Chun Yuan asked, "and then transferred the startup fund I gave you to him to buy a watch." Ruan Huixian's head shot up. How did you know about the startup fund?" "Your dad told me." Chun Yuan's face was devoid of expression. "He called last month asking if your mom could use some of that money for a physical therapy device. I told him I gave you the money a long time ago." He paused and said, "Didn't Huixian say the business failed and she lost all the money?" He paused. "At the time, I even comforted him, saying it's just money, as long as she's okay." Thinking about it now, Chun Yuan looked at Ruan Huixian. "She's certainly okay. It's just her heart that has strayed." Ruan Huixian collapsed onto the floor, her makeup ruined, her hair a mess, like a popped balloon. "That money," she murmured. "Lin Xian said he had an investment project, a sure thing. He said he'd pay me back after he made a profit, and it would be a nice surprise for you." "It's quite a surprise indeed." Chun Yuan nodded. So surprising that I'm curious to see what kind of project is so amazing it can turn 200,000 into a watch in 3 months. He stood up, leaning on his crutch, and hopped on one foot to the door, grabbing the car keys from the shoe cabinet. Where are you going? Wan Huixian scrambled to her feet. To work, Chen Yuan said. After all, I have to make money, support the family, and, while I'm at it, buy a watch for my wife's younger brother. Honey, Wan Huixian rushed over and grabbed his arm. Don't go, let's talk this out. I was wrong, I was really wrong. The baby. We don't have to have the baby. I'll go get an abortion right now. Chen Yuan looked down at her for a long time. Then, he pried her fingers off one by one. Wan Huixian. He called her by her full name for the first time. Whether to have the baby or not is your choice. But whether to stay in this marriage or not is my choice. He pulled the door open, then paused without turning back. By the way, starting today, the supplementary card is canceled. I've frozen the joint account. My lawyer will contact you this afternoon. Also, regarding the financial aid review for Lin Xian School, as a sponsor, I have an obligation to provide the true situation. The door closed. Wan Huixian stood frozen, hearing the ding of the elevator, followed by the tap, tap, tap of Chen Yuan's crutch fading into the distance. Every tap felt like a hammer blow to her heart. At the office, when Chen Yuan hopped in on one foot, everyone in the department gave him looks of condolence. Liu Hao had already spread the story of his heroic injury. Brother Yuan, your foot. His assistant, Xiao Zhang, leaned in with a grave expression. Should I get you a wheelchair? No need. Chen Yuan leaned his crutch against the wall. Give me a coffee, extra strong, double sugar. Double sugar? Xiao Zhang was shocked. Brother Yuan, haven't you been off sugar for 3 years? I've had a change of heart today, Chen Yuan said. He really had. If he was already wearing a green hat, who cares about a little sugar? Sitting down at his computer, Chen Yuan first dealt with a few urgent emails, then opened an encrypted folder. Inside was the information he had compiled overnight. Lin Xian's personal information, school records, sponsorship records, spending history, and Wan Huixian's every move for the past 3 months. He had asked a friend who was a private investigator and spent a whole night getting all the details. When his friend sent the final report, he added a sentence. Brother, my condolences. This woman plays around a lot, and that kid is no simple character either. He was not simple. Chen Yuan looked at Lin Xian's financial aid application. Annual family income of 3,000 yuan, a disabled father, a sickly mother, living in a mountainous area in a leaky adobe house. The application also included photos, a dilapidated house, frail parents, and Lin Xian wearing patched clothes, but with a clear and determined look in his eyes. Chen Yuan remembered how his heart softened the first time he saw these materials, and he decided on the spot to fund his 4 years of tuition. Looking at it now, it only felt ironic. He took out his phone and found the WeChat of Lin Xian's counselor. Teacher Li, regarding student Lin Xian's sponsorship, I would like to add some information. The boy may have encountered some financial difficulties recently, and his spending has been a bit unusual. I'm worried he's gone down the wrong path. Also, the proof of family situation he submitted when applying for the scholarship, does it need to be updated? After all, 3 years have passed. Perhaps the family's condition has improved. This message was impeccably worded. It expressed concern, hinted at a problem, and casually mentioned that the materials might be outdated. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, the counselor replied, Mr. Chun, thank you so much for your feedback. We have also noticed that Lin Xian's recent spending has been quite high, and we're planning to talk to him. Also, you've reminded us of something important. The scholarship materials do need to be updated regularly. We will verify this immediately. Chen Yuan sent back a thanks for your hardware sticker. Putting down his phone, he leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. It wasn't anger in his mind, nor sadness. It was a cold, almost cruel clarity. He remembered on his wedding day, the officiant asked, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, will you love and cherish each other, forsaking all others? He had said, I do. Wan Huixian had also said, I do. Thinking about it now, the officiant should have added another line. Whether the Western A project is real or fake, whether the child is yours or not, are you willing to be the fall guy? Brother Yuan. Liu Hao pushed the door open, holding an ice pack. For your foot. Chen Yuan opened his eyes. No need. How was the thing I asked you to check on? Lu Hao placed the ice pack on the table and lowered his voice. I checked. The apartment that kid rented is $6,000 a month, paid for half a year up front. The landlord said a young woman paid for it. Based on the description, it was sister-in-law. Chen Yuan nodded, not surprised. Also, Lu Hao scratched his head. I asked someone to inquire about Lin Xian's apartment. He's been quite high-profile recently. New phone, new computer, and even treated his classmates to a high-end restaurant. When a classmate asked him where he got rich, he said it was from a relative's sponsorship. A relative? Chen Yuan repeated the word and laughed. Brother Yuan. Lu Hao hesitated for a moment. Are you really going to report him for fabricating his application materials? If that kid's sponsorship is revoked, his student status might be. That's not my concern. Chen Yuan cut him off. My responsibility is to ensure the sponsorship funds are used where they are supposed to be. If he is truly impoverished, he has nothing to fear from an investigation. If he is not, he didn't finish. But Lu Hao understood. At 2 in the afternoon, the lawyer arrived on time. His surname was Zhao. He wore gold-rimmed glasses and spoke slowly and deliberately, but every sentence cut to the heart. Mr. Chun, based on the materials you have provided, Ms. Ruan had an improper relationship with another person during her marriage and may have given birth to a child out of wedlock. This constitutes a major fault. In the division of assets, you can demand that she receives a smaller share or no share at all. Chen Yuan pushed over the statements for Ruan Huaxian's supplementary card. The transfer records and the evidence about the Western Aid Project lie. Lawyer Zhao looked through them, his expression growing more and more intrigued. In addition, Chen Yuan said, the 200,000 she transferred to Lin Xian is community property. She disposed of it without my consent, and I demand its return. That can be claimed, Lawyer Zhao nodded, but it requires evidence to prove the nature of this money and that the recipient was aware and acted maliciously. I have it. Chen Yuan opened his phone and played a recording. It was what Ruan Huaxian had said when she broke down last night. Lin Xian said he had an investment project, a sure win. He said he would pay me back after he made the money. In the recording, she was crying so hard she could barely breathe. After listening, Lawyer Zhao pushed up his glasses. This can be used as one piece of evidence, but it will be best to have written proof or a third-party witness. I'm working on it, Chen Yuan said. Just as he was speaking, his phone vibrated. It was Ruan Huaxian. Chen Yuan put it on speaker. Husband. Her voice was hoarse, choked with sobs. The lawyer called me. Do you really want a divorce? Our 5 years together. Are you really throwing it all away? Chen Yuan didn't speak. Lawyer Zhao looked down at his documents, pretending he wasn't there. I was wrong. I was really wrong. Ruan Huaxian cried. I've already scheduled the surgery for the baby. I'll go get it aborted tomorrow. I've broken up with Lin Xian. It's really over. Just give me one more chance, please. Chen Yuan looked out the window. The sky was very blue, the clouds very white, just like their wedding day. Ruan Huaxian, he began, his voice calm. Whether you have the surgery or not is your business. But the divorce is non-negotiable. On the other end of the line, the crying stopped. After a long pause, Ruan Huaxian said, Can you really be this heartless? Chen Yuan laughed. Me heartless? He asked. Was it me who stopped you from going on the aid mission? Was it me who forced you to lie? Did I hold a knife to your throat and make you get involved with the student I sponsor? By the way, Chen Yuan cut her off. The review for Lin Xian's scholarship has already begun. If he falsified his application materials, he could be expelled. You'd better give him a heads up so he can prepare. On the other end of the line, there was a dull thud, like a phone hitting the floor. Then came Ruan Huaxian's shrill voice. Chen Yuan, are you even human? He's just a student, and you're ruining his future. His future, Chen Yuan said, word by word, is something he ruined himself. As for you, he paused. The lawyer will see you this afternoon to sign the papers. Pack up your things at the house. Leave the key on the coffee table. Chen Yuan, you. Chen Yuan hung up the phone and turned it off. The world was quiet now. Lawyer Zhao closed his folder and said carefully, Mr. Chun, you've handled your emotions very well. What else could I do? Chen Yuan turned his wheelchair and moved to the window. Cry? Make a scene? Get on my knees and beg her not to leave. He shook his head. There's no point. Lawyer Zhao stood up. I'll go see Ms. Ruan then. I'll email you the first draft of the agreement. Contact me anytime if you need changes. Thank you. The lawyer left. Chen Yuan was alone in the office. He stood up on his crutches and hopped on one foot to the coffee machine and poured himself another cup of coffee. No suga. It was painfully bitter, but he drank it all, sip by sip. His phone vibrated, an unread message from when he turned it back on. It was from Lin Xian. Uncle Chun, it's Lin Xian. The university spoke with me today. They said someone reported my unusual spending habits. Uncle Chun, has there been some kind of misunderstanding? Sister Hui Xian and I are really just ordinary friends. We just happened to run into each other at the hospital that day. You've sponsored me for so many years. I am endlessly grateful. How could I possibly do anything to betray your trust? Please believe me, and please don't report anything else to the university. I'm applying for graduate school admission this year. I can't have any blemishes on my record. Chen Yuan read it, but didn't reply. He opened his computer, logged into the Student Aid Foundation system, and found the Terminate Sponsorship option. His mouse hovered over the Confirm button for a long time. Then he clicked. A system prompt popped up. Are you sure you want to terminate the sponsorship for student Lin Xian? This action cannot be undone. Chen Yuan clicked Confirm. The next second, his phone rang. It was Lin Xian, calling him directly this time. Chen Yuan answered, but didn't speak. Uncle Chun. Lin Xian's voice was urgent and panicked. How could you do this? My family is counting on me to succeed. If you cut off my funding, what about my tuition? My living expenses? You can't just ruin me based on a rumor. Chen Yuan waited for him to finish yelling before he spoke. Lin Xian. Those limited edition sneakers you're wearing, how much were they? The other end of the line went silent. Not talking, Chen Yuan continued. Let me guess then, at least 5,000. Your father works as a bricklayer on a construction site, earning 3,000 a month. Your mother's medication costs 1,000 a month. Your adobe house leaks when it rains, and there's no money to fix it. You tell me, he asked, which relative sponsored these shoes? Also, Chen Yuan cut him off. The apartment you're renting is 6,000 a month. You treat your classmates to meals that cost 2,000 a time. The watch on your wrist, 87,000. He said it all in one breath, then asked, did you earn all this from your work-study job? Uncle Chun, please let me explain. No need to explain, Chen Yuan said. I have already provided the university with your spending records. If the source of this money is legitimate, you won't have any problem. If it's not, he didn't finish. But Lin Xian understood. On the other end of the line, the breathing grew heavier, finally turning into a low growl. It was that bitch Ruan Hui Xian who told you, wasn't it? She's good for nothing but ruining things. Uncle Chun, don't believe her. She seduced me. She said her husband was rich and didn't care about this. Lin Xian. Chen Yuan said his name. His voice was very cold, so cold that the person on the other end of the line couldn't help but shiver. I paid for your 4 years of tuition and living expenses, hoping you would leave the mountains, see the world, and become a useful person. Not so you could, he said, word by word. Leave the mountains, learn to be a pretty boy, seduce a married woman, and still act so self-righteous. The call ended. Chen Yuan threw his phone on the desk, leaned back in his chair, and let out a long breath. His ankle was still aching, but the ruins in his heart seemed to be starting to clear. He opened his email. Lawyer Zhao's draft agreement had already arrived. The terms were clear, the logic was tight, and it protected his interests to the fullest extent. He scrolled down and saw the property division section. Marital property, purchased by Chen Yuan before the marriage, but with joint mortgage payments after, goes to Chen Yuan, who will compensate Ruan Hui Xian for her share of the mortgage payments and the appreciation. Vehicle in Ruan Hui Xian's name, paid for by Chen Yuan, goes to Ruan Hui Xian. Savings, mostly emptied by Ruan Hui Xian. The remainder goes to Chen Yuan. The 200,000 startup fund. Ruan Hui Xian is required to return it. Chen Yuan looked at these terms and suddenly laughed. As he laughed, his eyes began to sting. A 5-year marriage, and all that was left were these cold, hard clauses. And an ultrasound of an unborn child who he wasn't sure was his. Outside the window, the sky was growing dark. The city lights began to switch on, one by one. Chen Yuan stood up on his crutches and hopped on one foot to the floor-to-ceiling window. Down on the street below, traffic flowed endlessly, and people came and went. Everyone was in a hurry, and everyone wore a mask. Like Ruan Huixian, wearing the mask of a volunteer doctor. Like Lin Xian, wearing the mask of a poor but brilliant student. And like himself, wearing the mask of a model husband. Now, the masks had all been torn off. What was revealed was a bloody, unsightly truth. His phone vibrated again. This time it was Lu Hao. Brother Yuan, want to go for drinks tonight? I'll drink with you until we're both wasted. Chen Yuan replied, not drinking. I quit. Lu Hao. When did you quit? Chen Yuan. Today. Lu Hao. Dinner then. Chen Yuan. Okay. He thought for a moment, then added, get Lao Zhao, Lawyer Li, and that auditor buddy of yours. Lu Hao. Are we forming a party to run a dungeon? Chen Yuan. Yeah. What dungeon? A real-life one. Who's the boss? My ex-wife and her pretty boy. Gear requirements? Brains, the law, and a heart that's completely dead. Lu Hao sent a series of ellipsis points. Then he said, send me the location. I'll be your tank tonight. Pull all the aggro. Chen Yuan smiled. A genuine smile. He shut down his computer, grabbed his crutches, and hopped out of the office on one foot. In the hallway, his assistant, Xiao Zhang, poked his head out. Brother Yuan, leaving for the day? Is your foot okay? Do you need me to give you a ride? No need, Chen Yuan said. I'm going to dinner. With your wife. No. Chen Yuan pressed the elevator button. With my divorce lawyer, a property auditor, and a witness. Xiao Zhang. Brother Yuan, this dinner of yours, is it? Proper. It's proper. The elevator doors opened. Chen Yuan hopped in, looked back and said, more proper than my marriage was. The elevator doors closed. Xiao Zhang stood in the hallway, scratching his head and muttering, Brother Yuan, seems different today. How was he different? I can't put my finger on it. I just feel like something on his head is gone. What thing? You know, that green thing. Keep your voice down. The elevator descended. Chen Yuan looked at his reflection in the metal doors. His face was a bit pale, his stubble unshaven, his hair a mess. But his eyes were very bright. Bright like the cold, remaining ashes after a great fire has burned out. His phone vibrated. A text from Ruan Huixian. I've seen the agreement. I don't have the 200,000 right now. I'll pay you back when Lin Xian's project pays out. I don't want the house, but you have to compensate me with 1 million. Otherwise, I'm not signing. Chen Yuan finished reading it and smiled. He replied, the 200,000 back in 3 days. The agreement signed tomorrow. Otherwise, see you in court. P.S. I have records of every transfer you made to Lin Xian. If this is ultimately defined as sponsorship, you might end up owing me instead. He hit send. Then, he turned off his phone. The elevator reached the ground floor. The doors opened. Chen Yuan, leaning on his crutches, hopped out on one foot and into the night. His retreating figure was a bit comical, but every step he took was solid. Like a sober member of the audience in an absurd play who has finally decided to stop playing along. 3 days later, Chen Yuan's ankle had swollen down, but he still couldn't walk normally. Leaning on a crutch, he looked just like a wounded soldier fresh from battle. Lu Hao drove him to the law firm, trying to say something the whole way, but hesitating. Just say what's on your mind. Chen Yuan looked out the window. Brother Yuan, are you really going to sign that agreement? Lu Hao gripped the steering wheel. Did sister-in-law, did Ruan Huixian agree to leave with nothing? She agreed. Chen Yuan said, she called me crying last night, saying as long as I don't blow this up and let her parents know, she'll agree to anything. Lu Hao tooted. So, she does care about her reputation. If she cared about her reputation, we wouldn't be here today. Chen Yuan's tone was flat. The car stopped in front of the office building. Lawyer Zhao was already waiting at the entrance, holding a file folder, his gold-rimmed glasses glinting in the sun. Mr. Chen, Lawyer Zhao came forward to greet him. Ms. Ruan has already arrived. She's in the conference room. But what? She brought someone with her. Chen Yuan's steps faltered. Lin Xian. No. Lawyer Zhao's expression was a bit odd. It's her mom. Chen Yuan. 5 minutes later, in the conference room, Ruan Huixian sat on one side of the long table, her eyes swollen like peaches, her face pale. Next to her sat a middle-aged woman with permed hair and a floral dress. Ruan's mother, Ms. Wang Mylin. Chen Yuan was very familiar with this woman. 4 or 5 years of marriage, every holiday season, Ms. Wang would hold his hand and say earnestly, "Ah, Chun, for our Huisian to marry you is her good fortune. You must treat her well. She's been doted on since she was little and has never known hardship." Now, the moment Ms. Wang saw Chen Yuan, she immediately stood up, her eyes turning red on cue. "Ah, Chen, what is all this? Huisian came home and cried all night, saying you want a divorce? What couple doesn't fight? Is there anything that can't be talked out properly?" "Mom," Chen Yuan interrupted her, sitting down opposite her with the help of his crutch. "Please have a seat first." Wang Milan was taken aback by that, Mom. Chen Yuan's tone was too calm, so calm he didn't sound like a son-in-law, but like someone addressing a client. "Lawyer Zhao." Chen Yuan looked at the lawyer. "Is the agreement ready?" "It's ready." Lawyer Zhao pushed 2 documents forward. "Ms. Ruan can take a look first." Ruan Huisian reached for the documents with a trembling hand, but Wang Milan snatched them away and began to flip through them. As she read, her expression changed. "Leave with nothing." Her voice became shrill. "Chen Yuan, what is the meaning of this? My daughter was with you for 5 years. She gave you the best years of her youth, and you're making her leave with nothing?" "Mom!" Ruan Huisian tugged at her sleeve. "Don't pull me." Wang Milan shook her daughter off, pointing at Chen Yuan. "I'm telling you, there is no way we are signing this agreement. The house, the car, the savings, she gets her share, not 1 cent less. In compensation for emotional distress for my daughter's 5 years." "Auntie," Chen Yuan lifted his eyelids. "For 4.5 of your daughter's 5 years, I supported her. For the last 3 months, I supported her, while she supported someone else." The conference room fell silent for a moment. Wang Milan's mouth hung open, speechless. Ruan Huisian covered her face and began to cry again. Also, Chen Yuan pulled a sheet of paper from the folder and pushed it across the table. "This is the money Ruan Huisian took from me over the past 3 months, along with the transaction records of her transfers to Lin Xian. The total is 287,600 yuan. 200,000 of that is joint marital property, which she disposed of without my consent." He pushed another sheet across. "These are the records of her actual stays at a hotel in this city during the period she claimed to be supporting construction in the West, as well as screenshots of the fake photos and videos she posted on social media." He pushed one more across. "These are excerpts of her chat history with Lin Xian, involving terms of endearment, date arrangements, and conversations where she promised to buy Lin Xian luxury goods." 3 sheets of paper laid out neatly in front of Wang Milan. Black and white, irrefutable proof. Wang Milan's hands began to shake. She looked down at the papers, then up at her daughter, her lips trembling. "Huisian, is all of this true?" Ruan Huisian was crying too hard to catch her breath, unable to speak. "Mom," was the only word she finally managed to squeeze out. Wang Milan slumped back into her chair, as if all the air had been let out of her. After a long time, she looked up at Chen Yuan, her voice an octave lower. "Chun, Huisian was wrong about this. But she's still young. She was foolish for a moment. For the sake of your 5 years of marriage, can you not make her leave with nothing? We can give up the house, but that 200,000, she can't pay it back right now." "If she can't pay it back, she can write an IOU," Chen Yuan said. "She can pay in installments. I won't charge interest." "Then, what about the car?" Wang Milan hadn't given up completely. "The car is in her name. It's hers." Chen Yuan paused. "But she pays the transfer tax herself." "You." Wang Milan wanted to lash out again, but the sight of the 3 pieces of paper on the table made her deflate. Finally, she let out a long sigh and wiped her face. "Sign it, Huisian. We're in the wrong." With a trembling hand, Ruan Huisian picked up the pen. The moment the tip touched the paper, she suddenly looked up, her tear-filled eyes on Chen Yuan. "Husband." "No, Chen Yuan. Can I have a word with you alone?" Chen Yuan looked at Lawyer Zhao. Lawyer Zhao stood up. "I'll go get a glass of water." Wang Milan was also let out by Lu Hao. Only the 2 of them remained in the conference room. Ruan Huisian put down the pen, covered her face with her hands, her shoulders shaking. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. These past 3 months have been like a nightmare for me." Chen Yuan said nothing. "The aid work was truly hard," she choked out. "There was no water or electricity. We slept in tents, ate dry rations. I lasted for 3 months, but I really couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to come home, I missed you, but I was afraid you'd be disappointed, afraid you'd think I couldn't handle hardship. So you came back and stayed in a hotel for 3 months? Chen Yuan asked. I didn't know how to face you. Ruan Huixian cried. I lied every day. I was on edge every single day. Then I met Lin Xian on a social app. He said he was also from the countryside and understood my struggles. So So you slept with him, got pregnant, and even used my money to buy him a watch, Chen Yuan finished for her. Ruan Huixian's crying came to an abrupt halt. She looked up, her face a mess of tear tracks, her expression twisted. No, it was Lin Xian. He's the scheming one. He said he loved me, that he would be good to me, that he had a surefire investment project, and asked me to invest. I was tricked by him. Chen Yuan nodded. Right, it's all his fault. You're just a simple, kind, and lonely damsel in distress. The sarcasm was too thick. Ruan Huixian's face flushed crimson. Chen Yuan, she bit her lip. I know nothing I say now is of any use. But the baby, I've already aborted the baby, and I've completely broken things off with Lin Xian. Can you give me one more chance? Let's start over, okay? I promise I'll never. Ruan Huixian. Chen Yuan cut her off again. This time, he said her full name, enunciating each syllable. First, whether you aborted the baby or not is your business. Second, whether you break up with Lin Xian or not is your business. Third, he looked at her, his gaze as calm as if he were looking at a stranger. Between us, there is no starting over. There is only this is the end. Ruan Huixian stared at him blankly, as if she didn't recognize him. After a long moment, she murmured, You weren't like this before. Chen Yuan admitted. I was an idiot before. Ruan Huixian. Sign it. Chen Yuan pushed the pen towards her. After you sign, I'll have lawyer Zhao handle the procedures. The 200,000 I owe you can be paid in installments over 3 years, 5,000 a month. Don't bother me until it's paid off. Ruan Huixian stared at the pen for a long time. Then, she reached out, picked it up, and signed her name on the agreement. Her handwriting was shaky, but forceful. As the last stroke fell, she slumped into the chair as if all her strength had been drained. Chen Yuan picked up his copy of the agreement, glanced at it, folded it, and put it in his bag. Oh, by the way, he stood up, walked to the door on his crutches, and turned back to say, the results of the school's investigation into Lin Xian should be out today. You'd better be mentally prepared. Ruan Huixian's head shot up. What are you going to do to him? Me? Chen Yuan smiled. I didn't do anything. I just truthfully reported the spending habits of a student I sponsor to the school. As for how he explains the source of that money, that's his problem. He opened the door and walked out, the sound of Ruan Huixian's broken sobs following him. Chen Yuan didn't look back. In the hallway, Wang Mylin, her eyes red, looked like she wanted to say something, but Chen Yuan spoke first. Auntie, take care. Then, leaning on his crutches, he left. Lu Hao caught up to him. Brother Yuan, is that it? What else? Chen Yuan pressed the elevator button. Have a good cry? Throw a tantrum? Slap her? That's letting her off way too easy. Legally, she's leaving with nothing and is 200,000 in debt. Morally, she cheated, got pregnant, and everyone knows it. Chen Yuan stepped into the elevator. What more do you want? Lu Hao was speechless. The elevator descended. Watching the floor numbers change, Chen Yuan suddenly said, Hao Zi, do me a favor. Name it. Check into that investment project Lin Xian mentioned, Chen Yuan said. I have a feeling something's not right. Sure thing, leave it to me. That afternoon, Chen Yuan received the official notice from Lin Xian School. The email was starkly official. After verification, it has been confirmed that student Lin Xian misrepresented his family's financial situation in his application for financial aid. Furthermore, his recent spending habits are in serious incongruity with the information provided in his application. In accordance with school regulations, the following decisions have been made. 1. His eligibility for this year's financial aid is revoked. 2. The financial aid that has already been disbursed will be reclaimed. 3. A demerit will be recorded on his official record. 4. His eligibility for all awards, honors, and graduate school recommendations for this academic year is rescinded. At the end, a single sentence was appended. We thank Mr. Chun for his supervision and support of our school's financial aid program. Chen Yuan finished reading and closed the email. His phone rang immediately. It was an unknown number. He answered but didn't speak. Chen Yuan, you're a ruthless bastard. Lin Xian's voice exploded from the receiver, sharp with anger and panic. You've ruined me. Do you have any idea how much I've sacrificed for the graduate school recommendation? What fucking right do you have? The right of being your sponsor. Chen Yuan's voice was calm. The right earned by you taking financial aid for the poor to buy limited edition sneakers, rent a high-end apartment, and seduce your sponsor's wife. You're full of shit. It was Ruan Huixian who seduced me. She said her husband couldn't get it up, said she was lonely, said she had money. She has money? Chen Yuan chuckled. The money she has, I gave to her. The shoes on your feet, the watch on your wrist, the apartment you're renting. Every single cent flowed out of my account. Heavy breathing on the other end of the line. After a long moment, Lin Xian ground out through his teeth. Chen Yuan, don't get cocky. I've already invested that 200,000. It's going to double soon. When it does, I'll pay you back with interest, and we'll be even. An investment project? Chen Yuan asked. What's it called? None of your fucking business. It isn't my business, Chen Yuan said, but it is the police's business. What do you mean? I mean, Chen Yuan said slowly, if that project is suspected of illegal fundraising or a pyramid scheme or something else, the money you invested might not be coming back. Not a single cent. And you, as a participant, might have to bear legal responsibility. Silence on the other end. Then Lin Xian laughed a cold sound. Chen Yuan, who are you trying to scare? I've checked out that project. It's a sure thing. Oh, Chen Yuan said. Then I wish you wealth. He hung up the phone. After a moment's thought, he sent a WeChat message to Lu Hao. Did you find it? Lu Hao replied instantly. Found it. An online lending app called Xinli Bao. 30% annualized returns, plus rebates for recruiting new people. A classic Ponzi scheme. Someone's already reported it. The police are investigating. Chen Yuan looked at the message and smiled. A smile that prompted a string of question marks from Lu Hao. Brother Yuan, what are you smiling about? Smiling about some people. Chen Yuan typed back, who not only lose the battle, but also their troops, and will have to throw in a pair of silver bracelets to boot. At 8 in the evening, Chen Yuan was packing things up at home. Ruan Huixian's belongings were gone, but traces of her remained. Cosmetics on the vanity, the scent of perfume in the closet, sticky notes on the refrigerator. Chen Yuan tore the notes off one by one and threw them in the trash. The notes read, Hubby, the milk is on the second shelf of the fridge. Remember to take your vitamins. Are we going to see Mom and Dad this weekend? Chen Yuan stared at the handwriting for a long time. Then, he opened the refrigerator and took out the carton of milk. It was 3 days past its expiration date. He twisted the cap and sniffed. Sour. He poured it down the sink and rinsed it away. His phone buzzed. This time, it was a multimedia message from Ruan Huixian. No text, just a 10-second video. The picture was blurry, as if filmed in a rental apartment. Lin Xian had his back to the camera. Ruan Huixian was crying. Lin Xian suddenly turned and slapped her across the face. Then the video cut off. Immediately after, another message arrived. Brother Chen, you still care about this kind of woman and her bastard child? The sender was Lin Xian. Chen Yuan stared at the line of text for 5 seconds. Then, he dialed Ruan Huixian's number. It rang 7 or 8 times before she picked up. Hello. Ruan Huixian's voice was thick with tears and nasal congestion. I saw the video, Chen Yuan said. Silence on the other end. Then Ruan Huixian burst out crying. He hit me. He cheated me out of my money, and he hit me. Chen Yuan, I was wrong. I was so wrong. Can you help me, please? Help you with what? Chen Yuan asked. Help me get the 200,000 back. It's your money, I know. I can't let you lose it for nothing. That 200,000, Chen Yuan cut her off, is covered by an IOU you signed. You will pay me back. As for the money Lin Xian took, you gave it to him voluntarily. It has nothing to do with me. But, Ruan Huixian, Chen Yuan said, you're 30, not 3. You bear the consequences for your own mistakes. Then what am I supposed to do? Ruan Huixian screamed. He lives right across from me. He bangs on my door every day, cursing at me, demanding money. I called the police, but they said it was a financial dispute and told me to sue him in court. What am I supposed to do? Chen Yuan was silent for a moment. Then he said, call the police. What? I said, call the police. Chen Yuan repeated. He hit you in the video. That's domestic violence. Even if you're not married, cohabitation counts. Call the police, get a medical examination, file a report. On the other end of the line, Ruan Huaxian's crying stopped. After a long pause, she said in a small voice, I don't dare. He said if I call the police, he'll what? Chen Yuan asked. Kill your whole family? Ruan Huaxian, Chen Yuan sighed. He's lost his student status, his money, and his future. Do you think he'll care about adding a charge of intentional assault to his record? On the other end of the line, there were only suppressed sobs. Or, Chen Yuan said, I can call for you. And no, don't. Ruan Huaxian said hurriedly, I'll do it myself. I'll do it myself. Fine, Chen Yuan said. I'm hanging up. Chen Yuan. Ruan Huaxian suddenly called out to him. Something else? There was a long silence on the other end, and then, very softly, she said, I'm sorry. Chen Yuan didn't speak. Also, Ruan Huaxian sniffled. That investment project of Lin Xian's, it's a scam. All the money he put in is gone. He's been like a madman these past 2 days, borrowing money from everyone. Be careful. He might come looking for you. Got it, Chen Yuan said. The call ended. Chen Yuan put down his phone and walked to the window. Downstairs, the streetlights cast a dim yellow glow. A familiar figure was pacing at the entrance of the residential complex. Was Lin Xian. He had his head tilted up, looking towards Chen Yuan's building. Chen Yuan pulled open the window. The night wind blew in a bit chilly. Lin Xian saw him and suddenly became agitated, waving his arms and shouting something. He was too far away to hear clearly, but from the shape of his mouth, it was probably Chen Yuan, come down here. Chen Yuan watched him for a moment. Then, he took out his phone and dialed a number. Hello, is this property management? I'm the owner of 3-802. There's a suspicious young man downstairs who has been pacing at the entrance for a long time. I think it's the same one who caused trouble before. Could you please handle it? If he doesn't leave, call the police. He hung up. He glanced downstairs again. Lin Xian was already surrounded by security guards, arguing heatedly about something. Chen Yuan closed the window and drew the curtains. The world was quiet. He went back to the living room and turned on the TV. The news was reporting on the Xinli Bao illegal fundraising case. The police had already arrested the main suspects. The case involved tens of millions, and investors had lost everything. On the screen, a crowd of elderly men and women were crying their hearts out in front of the Public Security Bureau. Chen Yuan watched for a few minutes, then changed the channel. On a variety show, the guests were playing a game, laughing so hard they were bent over. He laughed along with them. As he laughed, tears began to fall. Damn it, what a mess. He wiped his face, picked up his phone, and sent a message to Lu Hao. Are you free tomorrow? Yeah, what's up? Come with me somewhere. Where? The Western Region Aid and Construction Project Team. What are you going there for? Haven't you had enough aid and construction? To donate money. How much? 200,000. Brother Yuan, did something rattle you? Yeah, Chen Yuan replied. A big shock. I need to do something good, build up some good karma. Otherwise, he was afraid he'd marry someone involved in aiding the Western region again next time. Lu Hao sent a string of ha-ha-has, and then said, All right, your brother will go with you, but you have to treat me to a meal. Deal. What are we eating? Hot pot, Chen Yuan said. The extra spicy kind. The kind that makes you cry. It was just as well. He could no longer tell if he was crying from the spice or from something else. The office of the Western Region Aid and Construction Project Team was located in an old government building in the suburbs. The paint on the walls was peeling like a skin disease, and the hallway smelled of old documents. By the time Chen Yuan, leaning on a crutch, had hopped up to the 3rd floor on one foot, he was already starting to regret it. Howsy, he said, panting. Do you think I've lost my mind? I could donate 200,000 anywhere. Why here? This building looks older than my grandpa. Lu Hao supported him and chuckled. Brother Yuan, with the way you look right now, just add a broken bowl and you could start working right at the entrance of this building. Piss off. The office door was open. Inside sat an old man wearing reading glasses, hunched over a desk filling out forms. He looked up when he heard the noise. Who are you looking for? Hello, Chen Yuan said as he entered. I'd like to learn about the Western Region Aid and Construction Project and also make a donation. The old man pushed up his glasses and looked him up and down. A donation? Personal or corporate? Personal. Oh, the old man rummaged in a drawer and pulled out a crumpled receipt book. How much are you donating? We issue receipts for 100 or more, and for 1,000 or more, you can get on the honor roll. That blackboard downstairs. See it? Chun Yuan followed his pointed finger and saw a small blackboard at the end of the hallway. A few lines were written on it in chalk. Red Star Elementary School donated 200 books. Annie Wong. Anonymous donation of 50 winter coats from a kind-hearted person. Grandpa Zheng donated 500 yuan. With respect. Chun Yuan fell silent. Lu Hao stifled a laugh, his shoulders shaking. Well, Chun Yuan began, choosing his words carefully. I was thinking of donating. Perhaps a little more. How much is a little more? The old man put down his pen. 5,000? For that, you'll have to go upstairs to get Director Li's signature. 200,000. The old man's reading glasses slipped down his nose. He stared at Chun Yuan for 3 seconds, then shot up from his chair with an agility that belied his age. Please have a seat, comrade. Just a moment. I'll go get the director right away. 5 minutes later, Chun Yuan and Lu Hao were ushered into the director's office on the second floor. Director Li was a capable-looking woman in her 40s with short hair. Her handshake was firm. Mr. Chun, is it? I heard from Old Wong that you wish to donate 200,000. On behalf of the project team and our compatriots in the West, I thank you. You're welcome. Chun Yuan sat down, leaning his cane against the wall. I'd just like to understand where exactly this money will be used. You can rest assured about that. Director Li pulled a stack of documents from a filing cabinet. All of our project team's income and expenditures are public and transparent. Look, this is last year's financial disclosure. Every single penny, where it was spent, is perfectly clear. As Chun Yuan flipped through the spreadsheets, he suddenly asked, by the way, is there a doctor in your project team named Ruan Huixian? She signed up for the aid program last year. Director Li paused, thinking for a moment. Ruan Huixian. Oh, yes, there was such a person. A doctor from the municipal hospital, right? Correct. Her. Director Li shook her head. She was here for 3 months, and then said she couldn't adapt physically and left early. It was quite a pity for us. We're short on doctors over there. Chun Yuan's fingers stopped on the spreadsheet. 3 months. That's right. Director Li found the attendance record. Look, she reported in September of last year and went back in early December. Said she had severe altitude sickness and her heart couldn't take it. Chun Yuan looked at Ruan Huixian's signature on the record. The familiar handwriting. It was identical to the one on their divorce agreement. So Chun Yuan paused. How was her performance while she was there? Performance? Director Li thought for a moment. It was all right, I suppose, just a bit pampered. The other doctors all lived in tents, but she insisted on having a separate prefabricated room. Said she wasn't used to it. She was picky about food, too. Complained the meals were bad and brought a whole case of her own snacks. Lu Hao let out a puff of laughter from the side. Director Li glanced at him before continuing. But she was conscientious enough with her work. She just took a lot of sick leave, complaining of headaches and chest tightness. Eventually, she couldn't handle it anymore and filed a report to go back. Chun Yuan nodded without a word. Is something wrong, Mr. Chun? Director Li asked. Do you know Dr. Ruan? Yes, Chun Yuan said. My ex-wife. The office fell silent. Director Li's expression became wonderfully complex, shifting from sudden realization to so that's how it is to my condolences, finally settling on an awkward but polite smile. Well, about matters of the heart, it's not our place to say much. However, when Dr. Ruan left, she did donate a sum of money. She said it was to support the project, and we even sent her a letter of thanks. Chun Yuan looked up. How much did she donate? 50,000, Director Li said. It was deducted directly from her salary card. Oh, at the time, she said to use her husband's card as a joint contribution from the couple. Chun Yuan smiled. It was a smile that made Director Li's hair stand on end. Director Li, Chun Yuan said that 50,000 was it donated on December 10th of last year? Let me check. Director Li flipped through her record book. Yes, December 10th. Chun Yuan nodded, took out his phone, opened his banking app, and pulled up the transaction record for December 10th. It was displayed clearly on the screen. December 10th, Ruan Huixian transferred RMB 50 00000 to your account. Note, project support. And the WeChat message Wan Huixian had sent him that day was, "Hubby, I performed a small surgery on a herdsman today. It felt so rewarding. I'm just so tired. Going to sleep now. Good night." Attached was a photo of the Gobi Desert under the night sky, the stars shining brightly. Chen Yuan stared at that message for a long, long time. Then he turned off his phone and said to Director Li, "That 50,000, it was my money. Director Lu Hao." The air fell silent again. "But it doesn't matter," Chen Yuan said with a smile. "Since it's been donated, let's just consider it support for the project. I came today because I want to donate another 200,000 specifically for medical equipment over there. I only have one condition. Please go ahead. Every cent of this donation must be made public," Chen Yuan said. "I want to know exactly where it goes and who it helps. You can absolutely rest assured on that point." Director Li puffed out his chest. "We are subject to public supervision and will publish the details quarterly. You can check anytime." "That's good." After signing the donation agreement and leaving the office building, it was already noon. Lu Hao drove, while Chen Yuan sat in the passenger seat, watching the streetscape fly by. Suddenly, he said, "How Z? Don't I seem like a huge sucker?" "Huh?" Lu Hao didn't catch on. "My wife takes my money, pretends to go do aid work, but actually stays in a hotel. She comes back, still using my money, to keep a boy toy. And in the end, she uses my money again to donate to the project team to make herself look good." Chen Yuan counted on his fingers. And me? I was moved to tears, thinking my wife was a truly selfless, dedicated angel. Lu Hao opened his mouth, but couldn't say a word. "The best part is," Chen Yuan continued, "that boy toy is the same poor student I've been sponsoring. I paid for his food, his clothes, and his education. And in return, he sleeps with my wife and calls me an idiot." Lu Hao held back for a long time before managing to say, "Yuan Ji, your experience. You could write a book about it. A wife who went west to provide aid for a year, only for me to see her at the hospital for a prenatal checkup. What should it be called?" Chen Yuan asked. "The cultivation of a sucker." No, Lu Hao said with a straight face. "It should be called The Student I Sponsor Became My Rival in Love. My wife used my money to buy him a watch, and in the end, I still had to pay for the lesson." Chen Yuan laughed. In the middle of laughing, he sighed. "How's he?" "Yeah. Help me investigate someone." "Who?" "Lin Xian's hometown," Chen Yuan said. "I want to know if his parents are really in as dire a situation as he described in his application materials." "Got it." 3 days later, the results of the investigation came in. Lu Hao placed a stack of photos and documents on Chen Yuan's desk, his expression complicated. "Yuan Ji, you should prepare yourself." Chen Yuan picked up the photos. The first was of Lin Xian's home, a brand-new, 3-story building with tiled walls, aluminum alloy windows, and a motorcycle parked by the door. The second was of Lin Xian's father, playing mahjong at the village convenience store, a pack of Chunhua cigarettes by his side. The third was of Lin Xian's mother, wearing a new dress, feeding chickens in the yard, a shiny gold bracelet on her wrist. Chen Yuan put down the photos and opened the documents. The information showed that Lin Xian's family had indeed been a registered poor household, but that was 3 years ago. Last year, the village carried out a poverty alleviation relocation program, and his family was given a new house and received compensation funds. His father worked on a construction site, earning 4,000 to 5,000 a month. His mother farmed and raised some chickens and ducks at home, earning about 10,000 a year. While not wealthy, they were a far cry from the application's description of bare walls, disabled parents, and an annual income of less than 3,000. Moreover, Lu Hao added, "I asked around. In the village, Lin Xian is the classic other people's child. Every time he goes back, he's dressed to the nines and says he found a rich girlfriend whose family owns a company and treats him very well." Chen Yuan laughed. This time it was a real laugh, one that you could hear. "Yuan Ji," Lu Hao asked cautiously, "are you okay?" "I'm fine." Chen Yuan waved his hand. "I just think that maybe I'm not a good judge of character." "How so?" "The wife I chose is a drama queen," Chen Yuan said. "The student I sponsored is a master actor." Lu Hao wanted to laugh, but didn't dare. Chen Yuan picked up his phone and dialed the number of Lin Xian school counselor. "Teacher Li, I've come across some new information regarding student Lin Xian's family situation. Yes, a friend of mine happened to be doing some field work over there and took some photos. I feel it's necessary to report this to the school, to prevent the financial aid from being misused and to ensure that children who are truly in need receive help. The call lasted 10 minutes. After hanging up, Chen Yuan said to Lu Hao, "Let's go eat." "Huh? Where to?" "Hot pot." Chen Yuan stood up, leaning on his cane. "The extra spicy kind. You're still eating?" Lu Hao followed him. "Can your foot handle it?" "It'll be fine," Chen Yuan said. "When the heart feels good, the foot doesn't hurt." Meanwhile, in a rented room in a certain old residential complex, Ruan Huixian sat on the edge of the bed, a faint red mark still visible on her face. Lin Xian paced the room like a caged animal. "The school is going to expel me." He spun around abruptly, glaring at Ruan Huixian. "And it's all because of that ex-husband of yours. Damn it, is he trying to drive me to my death?" Ruan Huixian lowered her head, silent. "And the 200,000. Lin Xian rushed over and grabbed her by the shoulders. "You tell me, did you tell him about the investment? How else would he know there was a problem with the project?" "I didn't." Ruan Huixian's voice trembled. "I really didn't say anything." "Bullshit." Lin Xian shoved her away. "If it wasn't you, who was it? It's great now, all the money is gone. I have nothing. My student status is gone. The money's gone, my future is gone. Are you satisfied now?" Ruan Huixian was thrown against the wall, her back aching from the impact. She looked up at the savage-faced young man before her. 3 months ago, he had messaged her on a social app, saying, "Sister, your photos have such an elegant air." 2 months ago, he had held her hand in a coffee shop, saying, "Sister, you're the most special woman I've ever met." 1 month ago, he had held her in a hotel bed, saying, "Sister, I'll marry you as soon as I make some money." Now, he was gripping her by the neck, saying, "Bitch, it's all your fault." Ruan Huixian suddenly smiled, a smile that made Lin Xian pause. "What are you smiling at?" he asked, loosening his grip. "I'm laughing at myself," Ruan Huixian said, wiping her face. "For being a fool." "You." Lin Xian. Ruan Huixian looked at him. All those sweet nothings, all those vows and promises, they were all lies to deceive me, weren't they? "You don't love me at all. You just love my money." "No, that's not right. You love Chen Yuan's money." Lin Xian's expression froze. "You knew I had a husband from the very beginning, didn't you?" Ruan Huixian continued. "You knew he was rich, you knew I was soft-hearted, you knew I was lonely. So you got close to me, flattered me, and lied that you loved me." "I didn't." "You did." Ruan Huixian stood up and advanced on him, step by step. "Those chat logs on your phone, I saw them. You were bragging to your buddies, saying you bagged a rich, dumb woman, stupid, loaded, and lonely." Lin Xian's face turned pale. "The money for your apartment, I gave it to you. The money for your watches and shoes, I gave it to you. The principal for that scam investment, I gave you that too." Ruan Huixian's voice was soft, but every word was like a knife. "Lin Xian, from start to finish, you were just using me." The room fell silent. Only the faint sound of traffic drifted in from the window. After a long time, Lin Xian spoke, his voice hoarse. "Yes, I was using you. So what? Weren't you using me too?" Ruan Huixian froze. "Your husband is rich, but he's not considerate, is he?" Lin Xian laughed a sarcastic laugh. "You were lonely. You needed someone to keep you company, to comfort you. I happened to show up, young, a smooth talker, and good at playing pitiful. Isn't that just what you fall for?" Ruan Huixian, don't make yourself out to be so innocent." Lin Xian cut her off. "You knew I had a girlfriend, but you still slept with me. You knew I was spending your husband's money, but you gave it to me again and again. You knew the project was a sham, but you played along with me. The two of us were two of kind. Neither of us is in a position to call the other dirty." Ruan Huixian opened her mouth but couldn't speak. Tears fell again, but this time they weren't tears of grievance or fear. It was the despair that comes with complete clarity. "Call the police," she said. "What?" "I said call the police." Ruan Huixian wiped her tears and took out her phone. "You hit me. The security cameras caught it. The bruises on my body are still there. Also, the police are already investigating that project you tricked me into investing 200,000 in. I'll go testify. If you tell them everything you know, It'll count as a meritorious service. Lin Xian looked at her as if she were insane. Are you crazy? What will happen to me if you call the police? I'll go to jail. I'll call them even if you don't. Wan Huixian dialed 110. I've had enough. Hello? 110? I want to report a crime. Someone is being violent with me. Lin Xian lunged to grab the phone, and the two of them scuffled. The phone flew from her hand and hit the floor, the screen shattering. But the call was still connected. Address? The address is no. 37, Xingfu Road, Building 3, Apartment 502. Yes, someone is hitting me. Please come quickly. Lin Xian stared at her, as if she were a stranger. Then, he turned, pulled open the door, and ran. He ran so fast his shoes weren't even on properly. Wan Huixian collapsed onto the floor, listening to the operator's voice from the phone. Meng? Ma'am, are you all right? We're dispatching officers immediately. She suddenly laughed, and as she laughed, she began to cry again. In a hot pot restaurant, Chen Yuan's nose was running and his eyes were watering from the spice. Lu Hao handed him a napkin and chuckled. Brother Yuan, if you can't handle spicy food, don't force it. Look at you, the spice is making you tear up. What do you know? Chen Yuan gulped down some iced beer. This is called fighting fire with fire. The phone rang. It was Wan Huixian. Chen Yuan glanced at it but didn't answer. It rang again. He still didn't answer. When it rang a third time, Lu Hao couldn't stand it anymore. Just answer it. What if it's an emergency? Chen Yuan answered and put it on speaker. Chen Yuan. Wan Huixian's voice was terribly hoarse. I called the police. The hand Chen Yuan was using to pick up food paused. The police have opened a case on Lin Xian for hitting me. Wan Huixian said, and about that investment project of his, I also gave a statement. The police say he might be suspected of fraud. Chen Yuan put down his chopsticks. And then, he ran away, Wan Huixian said. The police went to his rental to arrest him, but he was already gone. The landlord said he moved out this afternoon and took all his things. Chen Yuan. Wan Huixian's voice held sob. Can I see you? Just once. There are some things I want to say to you in person. Chen Yuan was silent for a long time. Then, he said, Wan Huixian, yes. We're divorced. On the other end of the line, her breathing hitched. From the moment you signed those papers, Chen Yuan said slowly, whether you're doing well or not, whether you're crying or laughing, it has nothing to do with me anymore. But, no buts, Chen Yuan cut her off. You walk the path you chose. My kindness ends here. The call ended. Chen Yuan put down his phone and continued eating the hot pot. Spicy, so spicy. So spicy his eyes turned red and his nose stung. Lu Hao looked at him and sighed. Brother Yuan, are you really not going to see her? No. What if she really can't get over it? If she can't get over it, there are the police, there are doctors, there are parents, Chen Yuan said. The only one there shouldn't be is me. Lu Hao fell silent. The two ate quietly for a while. Then Chen Yuan suddenly asked, Hao Zi, do you think I'm cruel? Cruel? Lu Hao thought for a moment. In a way you are, but in another way you're not. How so? To Lin Xian, you were ruthless enough. Reporting him, pulling your investment, cutting off all his escape routes, Lu Hao said. But with Wan Huixian, you actually held back. You didn't expose her to her parents. You didn't make a huge public scene, and the divorce settlement wasn't too hard on her. At least, you gave her the car. Chen Yuan smiled, but didn't speak. Brother Yuan, Lu Hao poured him a glass of alcohol. Let me just ask you one thing. Do you still love her? Chen Yuan picked up the glass and looked at it for a long time. Then, he drained it in one gulp. I did, he said, but now I don't. Then do you hate her? I did, Chen Yuan said, but now I don't hate her either. Then what is it? It's letting it go, Chen Yuan said. It's like you spend $20 on a bottle of fake liquor. You take a sip and realize it's fake. You get angry, you curse, you want to go argue with the owner. But in the end, you just pour out the liquor and tell yourself not to buy from that place again. Lu Hao mulled it over for a moment, then gave a thumbs up. Brilliant. Chen Yuan smiled and poured another glass. This time, he raised it to the empty air, to myself, to 5 years of being a sucker, and to finally sobering up. Lu Hao also raised his glass. To you. The two clinked glasses and drank up. Spicy, so spicy. But after the spice, there was clarity. It was already 10 at night when they left the hot pot restaurant. Chen Yuan, leaning on a crutch, hopped on one foot to the roadside to wait for a designated driver. The night wind blew, sobering him up for the most part. His phone vibrated again. This time, it was a text from an unknown number. Chen Yuan, I won't let you get away with this. You ruined me, and I'm going to ruin you. Just you wait. Chen Yuan stared at the message for 3 seconds. Then, he replied, reported to the police. Your number has been saved. I suggest you run far away. Don't get caught. Hit send. Block number. All in one smooth motion. Lu Hao leaned over. Who was that? Lin Xian, Chen Yuan said. The impotent rage of the powerless. Should we find someone to... No need, Chen Yuan said. He's just a stray dog barking a few times. The designated driver arrived, a sharp-looking young man. Hello, are you the owner of the car with the plate ending in 6688? That's me. Chen Yuan handed him the keys. Got in the car, closed the door. The car slowly drove off into the night. Chen Yuan leaned back against the seat, watching the light streak past the window. The city was so big, and stories were unfolding every day. Some people met, some parted. Some lied, some were deceived. Some woke up, some remained intoxicated. He closed his eyes and suddenly remembered a long time ago, back when they had just gotten married. Wan Huixian snuggled in his arms and said, Honey, I want us to be together for a lifetime. He said, Okay. Then she went to the west. He believed her. Thinking back now, a lifetime is truly long. Long enough for one person to become someone else, and long enough for that other person to learn to let go. The phone vibrated again. This time, it was Director Li. Mr. Chun, your donation has been received. We've decided to use the money to buy a portable B-ultrasound machine for the health clinic over there. The pregnant women, they will no longer have to walk dozens of miles on mountain roads to the county for their checkups. On their behalf, thank you. Attached was a picture of a handwritten thank you note. The handwriting was childish, but every stroke was written with great care. Thank you, kind uncle. Mommy said she can get her checkups right here at home now. I will study hard and become a doctor when I grow up. It was signed, Xiao Hua, 9 years old. Chen Yuan stared at the letter for a long time. Then, he saved the picture and set it as his phone's wallpaper. Brother Yuan. Lu Hao leaned over to look. Who's this? A little kid, Chen Yuan said. You know her. I do now. The car drove over the Cross River Bridge. The river wind was strong, making the windows hum. Chen Yuan suddenly rolled down the window, faced the river, and yelled, To hell with love. His voice was scattered by the wind, drifting far away. Lu Hao jumped. Brother Yuan, are you drunk? Not drunk. Chen Yuan closed the window and smiled. Just felt like saying it. Saying what? Saying, Chen Yuan leaned back against the seat and closed his eyes. From this day on, I will only love money and people who truly need help. Lu Hao was stunned for a moment, then burst out laughing. The laughter echoed in the car, mixing with an old song on the radio. Don't bring up the past again. Life is already full of storms. Chen Yuan hummed along for a couple of lines. He sang terribly, but he didn't care, because from this day on, he no longer had to pretend to be perfect for anyone. The next morning, Chen Yuan was woken by the sunlight. His ankle didn't hurt anymore. He removed the brace and tried to take a few steps. Still a bit of limp, but he could walk. There were over a dozen missed calls on his phone, all from Wan Huixian, and a text message. Chen Yuan, I'm gone. To the south, to start over. I'm sorry and thank you. Also, be careful of Lin Xian. It seems he hasn't given up yet. After reading it, Chen Yuan deleted the message and blocked the number. Then, he opened his laptop and started working. There was a new email in his inbox. It was the purchase contract for the B-ultrasound machine from the West Project team, asking for his confirmation. He read it carefully and replied, Approved. Also, I would like to sponsor the child named Xiao Hua until she graduates from university. If she studies medicine in the future, I will cover all her tuition. Click send. Close the laptop. Outside the window, the sun was bright. A new day had begun, though his foot still had a slight limp. But at least he could walk on his own. At the entrance of a health clinic in a certain county in the west, Chen Yuan was squatting on the ground, staring intently at a rusty metal contraption. Dr. Zhao. He looked up at the young female doctor beside him. Are you sure this thing still works? Zhao Siyu, 27, with a ponytail and a white coat washed pale, had fine lines at the corners of her eyes when she smiled, rumored to be from the high plateau winds. Mr. Chun, this is called a portable B ultrasound machine. She squatted down and patted the metal box. It's a bit old, but it still works. Just last month, it helped detect a calf in a herdsman's cow. Chen Yuan. He had come with the project team 3 months ago to inspect the use of the donated equipment. The original plan was to stay for a week and leave, but he was seconded by Zhao Xiaoyu to help out, and 3 months had passed in a flash. The reason was, Mr. Chun, we've registered and cataloged all the equipment you donated, but you have to see the actual results. Otherwise, how would you know where the money was spent? And so he was shoved into this beat-up pickup truck, bumped along a mountain road for 6 hours, and arrived at this health clinic that was almost impossible to find on a map. Dr. Zhao. Chen Yuan stood up, dusting off his hands. We had an agreement. I'm just here to take a look, and I'll leave after I've seen it. I have a ton of work waiting for me in my company. I know. Zhao Xiaoyu pulled a small notebook from her white coat pocket. Look, these are the usage records for the B ultrasound machine. Since you donated it, it has been used for a total of 237 examinations, including 189 for pregnant women, identifying 12 cases of high-risk pregnancies, all of whom were transferred in time, ensuring the safety of both mother and child. She handed the notebook over. The handwriting was neat, clearly recording the time, subject, and result of each examination. Chen Yuan flipped through it silent. These are thank you letters, Zhao Xiaoyu said, taking out another stack of papers. Some were written in notebooks, others on the backs of cigarette packs. The handwriting was crooked, but each one was marked with a thumbprint at the end. The new mothers had their families write them. They can't read or write. Chen Yuan took the papers and looked at them one by one. Thank you, Uncle Chun. My wife gave birth. Mother and son are both safe. Mr. Chun, my daughter can get her checkups right here at home now, without having to walk the mountain roads. Thank you. Kind boss. May the eternal heaven bless you. The last one was from a child named Xiaohua. Her handwriting was much neater than a year ago. Uncle Chun, I got first place in my exams. Mom says when my little brother grows up, she wants him to study medicine too, just like Annie Zhao. Thank you for the ultrasound machine. Mom didn't suffer much when she gave birth to my brother this time. Chen Yuan stared at the letters for a long time. Then, he carefully folded them and put them in his shoulder bag. Dr. Zhao. Yes. This ultrasound machine, Chen Yuan said, pointing at the metal contraption. It's time for a replacement. What? It still works. It's time for a replacement, Chen Yuan repeated. The one I'm donating is new. This old one should be retired. Use it as a training model for the students to practice on. Zhao Xiaoyu's eyes lit up. Really? Then the new one. I'll make a call and arrange it. Chen Yuan took out his phone and walked to the side. Directori. Yes, it's me. The clinic here needs a new portable ultrasound machine, one with color printing capabilities. Yes, the kind that can print out paper reports. Take the money from my student aid fund. Yes, as soon as possible. After hanging up, he walked back and saw Zhao Xiaoyu squatting on the floor, carefully wiping the old ultrasound machine with a cloth. She was cleaning it so meticulously, as if it were some kind of treasure. Dr. Zhao, Chen Yuan said, squatting down beside her. How many years have you been here? 3 years. Zhao Xiaoyu didn't look up. I came right after graduating from university. The original plan was to stay for 1 year, but you ended up staying for 3? Yeah, she smiled. I can't leave. They need doctors here. If I left, the nearest clinic is 30 kilometers away. It would be too hard for the villagers to see a doctor. Chen Yuan looked at her without speaking. The plateau sun was harsh, tanning her face a little, but her eyes were bright, like the sky here, clean and clear. Mr. Chun, Zhao Xiaoyu said, standing up after finishing with the machine, you mentioned before that you're in the building materials business? Yes. Then what made you think of donating medical equipment? She asked. Don't people usually donate to schools or for road construction? Chen Yuan thought for a moment and said, because I've been scammed before. Huh, my ex-wife, Chen Yuan said, pretended to be here on an aid project, but she was actually staying in a hotel. She also took my money to support her boy toy. Zhao Xiaoyu's mouth fell open. Her expression shifted from surprise to sympathy, then to suppressed laughter, until finally she couldn't hold it in and let out a pfft. I'm sorry, she said, covering her mouth. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because... That's just too absurd. It is pretty absurd, Chen Yuan agreed with a smile. So, I learned my lesson. If I'm going to donate money, I have to see with my own eyes where it's going and who it's helping. Zhao Xiaoyu nodded. Makes sense. But Mr. Chen, that boy toy of your ex-wife's, what happened to him? He ran off, Chen Yuan said. Scammed some money, assaulted someone, and the police are looking for him. My ex-wife went south to start over. And me, I'm here, seeing if my ultrasound machine actually helped anyone. It definitely has. Zhao Xiaoyu patted her chest. I can vouch for that. Just as she spoke, a commotion arose in the distance. Several herdsmen carrying a stretcher ran over in a panic, shouting in broken Mandarin, Dr. Zhao! Dr. Zhao! Quick! A baby! It's not coming out! Zhao Xiaoyu's expression changed, and she immediately rushed over. Chen Yuan followed. On the stretcher was a young pregnant woman, her face pale and covered in sweat, moaning in pain. When did it start? Zhao Xiaoyu asked as she examined her. This morning. The pain started this morning, and now. Now it's still not out. The woman's husband stammered, frantic with worry. Zhao Xiaoyu lifted the blanket for a look, her expression turning grave. It's a difficult birth. The baby is in the wrong position. We need to get her to the county hospital immediately. But the car broke down. The husband was on the verge of tears. Use my car, Chen Yuan said immediately. The pickup is old, but it runs. But your truck. Zhao Xiaoyu hesitated. The bed is open to the wind. A pregnant woman can't be exposed to that. I have an idea. Chen Yuan turned and ran back to the clinic, emerging with a thick quilt, and then found some wooden poles and rope. Dr. Zhao, give me a hand. 10 minutes later, the back of the pickup truck was transformed into a makeshift delivery room. Wooden sticks propped up a frame, with a quilt draped over it to block the wind, and thick blankets laid inside. Zhao Xiaoyu helped the pregnant woman lie down inside before climbing in herself. Mr. Chen, drive, and be steady. Hold on tight. The pickup started, speeding along the bumpy mountain road. Chen Yuan gripped the steering wheel, his palms slick with sweat. In a rearview mirror, Zhao Xiaoyu was kneeling beside the pregnant woman, comforting her while doing something else, her expression focused and calm. Mr. Chen, she suddenly shouted. Faster. The baby's heartbeat is getting weak. All right. He slammed the gas pedal to the floor. The old pickup roared as if strained to its limit, tearing wildly down the mountain road. During a sharp turn, the quilt in the back was nearly blown away by the wind. Chen Yuan gripped the steering wheel with one hand and reached out with the other, desperately clutching a corner of the quilt. The wind was so strong he could barely open his eyes, but he didn't dare let go. Hang in there, he yelled. It wasn't clear if he was yelling to the pregnant woman or to himself. We're almost there. 20 minutes later, the pickup truck burst through the gates of the county hospital. Medical staff were already waiting at the entrance and immediately took the pregnant woman inside. Chen Yuan parked the truck and jumped out, his legs feeling a bit weak. Zhao Xiaoyu climbed out of the back. Her white coat was stained with blood, but her expression was relieved. She's inside. We should be in time. Are you all right? Chen Yuan asked, looking at the blood on her clothes. It's not mine, Zhao Xiaoyu waved her hand. It's the woman's. Mr. Chen, thank you for what you did just now. If it weren't for you. Before she could finish, Chen Yuan's phone rang. It was an unknown number. He answered. Chen Yuan, where the fuck are you? It was Lin Xian's voice, hoarse and frantic. I found your company. I'm going to kill you. Chen Yuan frowned. Lin Xian. Yes, it's me. Lin Xian gasped on the other end. You've ruined everything for me. My school registration is gone. I can't go home, and online lenders are hounding me every day. I have nothing left now. This is all your fault. Chen Yuan stepped aside, lowering his voice. Lin Xian, you chose the path that led you here today. Bullshit. If you hadn't reported me, how could I have? I reported you for fabricating documents because you actually did it. Chen Yuan cut him off. I cut off your funding because you were using my money to support my wife. Lin Xian, if you had a shred of conscience, you'd think about whether your parents can still hold their heads high in the village because of what you've done. There were a few seconds of silence on the other end, followed by a burst of maniacal laughter. Conscience? Ha ha ha. Chen Yuan, you're talking to me about conscience? You have a conscience? Would a man with a conscience leave his wife with nothing? Would a man with a conscience back me into a corner like this? Let me tell you, Lin Xian's voice turned cold and sinister. I know where you are. The Western region, right? I found your flight information. You just wait. I'm coming for you. Let's end this together. The call ended. Chen Yuan lowered his phone, his brow furrowed. What's wrong? Zhao Xiaoyu walked over. It's nothing. Chen Yuan shook his head. Just a madman. Do you need to call the police? I already have, Chen Yuan said. He's threatened me before. The police are looking for him. Just as he spoke, his phone rang again. This time it was Ruan Huixian. Chen Yuan hesitated for a moment before answering. Chen Yuan. Ruan Huixian's voice was soft, laced with exhaustion. I got a message from Lin Xian. He said he's going to find you. Be careful. I know. Also, Ruan Huixian paused. I'm doing fine in the south. I found a clerical job. The pay isn't high, but it's steady. I'll pay you back on time every month. Don't worry. Chen Yuan. Go on. I'm sorry. Ruan Huixian's voice was choked with tears. I am truly sorry. And thank you for leaving me a way out in the end. Chen Yuan was silent for a moment before saying, Live a good life. I will, Ruan Huixian sniffled. You too. The call ended. Staring at his phone, Chen Yuan suddenly felt that the past year had been like a long dream. And now, the dream was finally coming to an end. Mr. Chen, Zhao Xiaoyu patted his shoulder. The woman gave birth. Mother and son are both safe. It's a boy 6 pounds and 8 ounces. Chen Yuan snapped back to reality. Really? Really? Zhao Xiaoyu's smile was radiant. The family wants to thank you and has asked you to name the child. Me? Yes, you're his lifesaver, after all. Chen Yuan thought for a moment and said, Let's call him Rebirth. Rebirth. Yes. Chen Yuan looked towards the delivery room. A new beginning. 3 days later, it was time for Chen Yuan to leave. At the entrance of the clinic, Zhao Xiaoyu and a group of local villagers had gathered to see him off. Mr. Chen, this is our homemade beef jerky. For the road. Mr. Chen, these are insoles my wife embroidered. Please don't mind them. Uncle Chen, this is a drawing I made for you. Xiao Hua squeezed through and handed him a drawing. It depicted a blue sky, white clouds, a grassland, a female doctor in a white coat, and a man on crutches. The drawing was crooked and clumsy, but you could tell it was Zhao Xiaoyu and him. It's very well drawn. Chen Yuan took it and folded it carefully. Thank you, Xiao Hua. Uncle Chen, Xiao Hua looked up. Will you come back? Chen Yuan squatted down and patted her head. I will. When your new B ultrasound machine arrives, I'll come. Pinky swear. Pinky swear. A large and a small pinky finger hooked together. Zhao Xiaoyu stood nearby, watching this scene with a smile. Mr. Chen, she walked over. The car is here. An SUV was parked by the roadside, and the driver honked the horn. Chen Yuan stood up and patted the dust off his clothes. I'm leaving then. Dr. Zhao, take care. You too. Zhao Xiaoyu extended her hand. Thank you for everything you've done. Chen Yuan shook her hand. It was thin but very strong. I should be the one thanking you, he said, for letting me know my money wasn't donated in vain. They looked at each other and smiled. Letting go, Chen Yuan turned and got into the car. The car started and slowly drove away. In the rearview mirror, Zhao Xiaoyu and the villagers were still standing by the road, waving. They grew smaller and smaller, eventually becoming just a dot. Chen Yuan retracted his gaze and opened his phone. There were 2 new messages. One was from Director Li. Mr. Chen, Lin Xian was caught at the airport. He bought a ticket to the west, but was recognized during the security check. The police took him away on the spot. He is currently under criminal detention on suspicion of fraud, threats and intimidation, intentional injury, and other charges. The case is being processed. The second was from Ruan Huixian. He's been caught. I can finally get a good night's sleep. Chen Yuan, take care. Chen Yuan read the messages and deleted them. Then, he opened his camera and took a picture of the blue sky outside the window. He added a caption, back to work, and clicked send. His Moments feed exploded instantly. Lu Hao, Brother Yuan, you're finally back. The company is about to go bankrupt. Colleague, hey, Mr. Chen, if you don't come back, the finance department is going to run off with the money. Client B, Mr. Chen, Are we signing that contract or not? I've been waiting for a month. Chen Yuan smiled and replied to them one by one. Be at the company tomorrow. Sign it. Add 10%. They can't run. I'm watching. After replying, he leaned back in his seat and closed his eyes. It had been a year, from discovering his wife's affair, to the divorce, to reporting it, to the donation, to coming to the West. It felt like 10 years, but also felt like just an instant. He touched the stack of thank you letters in his bag, and Xiaohua's drawing. The empty space in his heart seemed to have been filled by something. Not love. Something else. Something more solid, more real. A month later, at Chen Yuan's company. Brother Yuan, here's the financial report for the first half of the year. Profits are up 30% year-on-year. Lu Hao handed him the file. Also, the West Project team sent an invitation, inviting you to attend the foundation stone laying ceremony for the new health center. Chen Yuan took the file and flipped through it. When? Next month. Schedule it. I'll go. You got it. Lu Hao turned to leave, then remembered something. All right, Brother Yuan, Dr. Zhao sent an email yesterday asking for the company's corporate account number. She said she wants to send you a silk banner. Chen Yuan laughed. That's not necessary. She said it's a must, otherwise the villagers won't agree. Lu Hao winked. Brother Yuan, you've been Dr. Zhao. What? Nothing. Lu Hao quickly slipped away. Chen Yuan shook his head and continued reading the file. His phone vibrated. It was a WeChat message from Zhao Xiaoyu with a photo. In the photo, a brand new B-ultrasound machine was in the clinic. A few pregnant women were gathered around it, smiling brightly. The caption read, Mr. Chen, the machine has arrived. The villagers say they're happier than when they got married. Thank you. Also, Xiaohua asked me to ask you when you're coming back. Chen Yuan looked at the photo and smiled. He replied, Next month. I'll bring some stationery for Xiaohua. Zhao Xiaoyu replied instantly. Okay, she'll be waiting. We'll be waiting for you. Chen Yuan put down his phone and walked to the window. Outside, the city was still bustling with traffic. But this time, looking at the prosperity, his heart was calm, because he knew that in a faraway place, there was a group of people whose lives were a little better because of him. That was enough. As for love, he smiled. Whatever happens, happens. After all, he had more important things to do now, like making money, like donating money, and like occasionally going to the West to see the sky there and those sincere, smiling faces. His phone vibrated again. Lu Hao sent a message. Yuan Ji, drinks tonight? To celebrate the first anniversary of your return to singlehood. Chen Yuan replied, Sure. My treat. Where to? The old spot. Hot pot. MHM. The extra spicy kind. Yep, you got it. Chen Yuan put down his phone and stretched. Sunlight streamed through the glass window, shining on his face. It was warm. He thought this is what life is like. You fall, you get up, pat the dust off, and keep walking. Maybe you'll fall again, but at least the next time you fall, you'll know how to protect yourself. And you'll know which roads are worth walking, what money is worth spending, which people are worth helping. As for those that aren't worth it, he glanced at the copy of the divorce agreement on the table, smiled, and fed it into the shredder. Crunch, crunch, shredded to pieces. Just like the past. What's broken is broken. Anyway, there's still a long road ahead, and a beautiful view.